Hello and welcome back to our next geography lesson. And we're going to continue to look at four-figure grid references and then some of the OS map symbols, similar to what we were talking about before. But before we get started on that, let's have a look through the answers we had from Monday's lesson. So this was the map we were to look at, and we were looking at four-figure grid references related to this map. And we were thinking about trying to find what references these were at and what were in these squares here related to the legend that we have up here. So at A in 11, the bridge was in 1137. The hospital, the H, was in 1237. The lighthouse, which was down here, is in this one here, so 90934. The ship, or one of the ships, so you could have two answers for this one, either here or here. So you could have either one of those two, 1035 or 0839. The coal mine, so we'd have to look for what a coal mine is, and this is the one here, is over here and here. So you can have either one of those two, 1036 or 1334. And then dolphins, again, we've got two dolphins. We've got one down here and one here. So we can have either one of those two boxes, which was 08, because remember we go to this corner here, 0835 or 1234. And then we're looking at what's found in the grid references. So 1139, go up to here, what's in this box, and there's the school. In 1140, we have the shark. In 1236, which is this one here, we have a house and part of a river. In D 1238, which is here, we have some houses, a path, and a church. In 1334, so this one here, that's where the mine is and some mountains are. And then 0838, so this square here, we have some trees, a house, and a path. And you could have chosen any of those that you were talking about. So to create a four-figure grid reference, this is just to go through what we did before. We go along the corridor and then up the stairs, always starting with the easting first. So we go along the easting and then up the northings to find where we're at. And remember, it's always this bottom left-hand corner that we use to show the square that it's in. So this one would be 1945. This one here, we look in the bottom left corner. So we've got 1644. Then this one here, down to this corner here, 1743, 1743. Next one. So to create a six-figure grid reference, we simply need to be more precise. But we still go along the corridor and up the stairs, and we always find the easting first. So what a six-figure grid reference for is to be more precise within a four-figure grid reference. So you think about the four-figure grid reference. Remember back to that map we looked before. We had a few items in that same box. Now, what a six-figure grid reference allows you to be is more precise as to where in that box you're looking. So what you need to think about is, for example, if I was looking in this box here, now the square that the box is in is 1643. But where in 1643 is it? Well, how we work it is if we zoom in a little bit, we split it up into 10, basically, with 0 being this point here and 10 being the end going into the next square. And what we do is we say roughly where along each line it is. Remember, doing easting first, so we do 16 and then how far along we want to go. So I'd say probably 16.3. And this is just to be more precise. So 16, probably 3. And then 43 we got here, going up probably again 3, which will give me 16, 3 and 43, 3. Now, this then allows me to be much more precise on where I'm looking in those squares. And remember, it's much like any scale. It's like our fractions. If we're going to split it into these sections, they need to all be even. The easiest way to do this is put the halfway mark, that's 5. Then split that into 4 and this one into 4, or 4 dashes and 4 dashes, and you'll get all the numbers you need. And that's the easiest way for me to do it anyway. So let's go back to this. And I want you to have a go. What are the 6-figure grid references of the following? So we've got the bridge here, the hospital here, the lighthouse down here, the church, which is here, the school up here, and the campsite over here. And what you're looking for is a 6-figure. Now, you can have a little wiggle room, but you want to try and get it as accurate as you can. Pause now and have a go. Okay. So the first one is 11, and then roughly 3 along, and then 37, and probably 1 or 2 up, depending on which one you go for. The hospital, which is over here, we've got 12 and probably 6 or 7. And then we've got 37 and probably about 5. It's in the middle of that line, I would say. 37, 5. The lighthouse is down here. So we go to 9, and this is almost at the end. So probably 099, 098. And then up 34, up to about here. Middle of it, roughly around here, 34, 7, 34, 6. Unless you're talking about being the very top. So anywhere, I would say 34, anywhere between 7 and 9 would be fine. Your church, which is up here, I would go 12, roughly looking somewhere in the middle of here. So say that, for example, 12, 6, 12, 7, and then 38, roughly 5, 38 going up here, 5 would be the middle here, which is about right. The school up here, and again you go for the center of the school, so 11, 8 or 7, 39, 2 or 3 probably. And then the campsite down here is 08, 4 or 5, and 36, probably 3, maybe 4. Okay. And it's using those 6-figure references that we can be really precise on where we're looking. And it really, really helps when we're looking at OS maps, because it brings a big square with lots of information in it down to a very particular point. So here are some of the OS map symbols. Now, they're not the same as the ones we've seen, and there's lots. But on every OS map you'll see, there'll be a legend that will have these written in it that then you can always refer back to when you're looking for particular symbols. So here are some of the symbols used on an OS map. Some are quite obvious in their meaning, whereas some aren't necessarily quite as easy to remember. And most maps will come with them. So the obvious ones being things like telephone or a church, a place of worship. Now, this is actually meaning place of worship, which means it could be anything. But you've got different ones. This says it's with a spire, minuet, or dome, and this one's with a tower. So slightly different. Cliffs, again, simple idea, but something like the youth hostel, you might not understand. It's just a pink triangle or purple triangle. Might be harder to guess, whereas you might be able to guess trees or coniferous trees, whereas national park boundaries might be slightly harder. But all of these are set out in a particular way. So let's have a practice and apply some map symbols. So each map symbol you identify here, what are there on here? So have a look at this, and then have a look at this. If you skip forward and backwards in the video, you should be able to go between them. Pause now and have a go. Okay, let's have a look. So these are the different map symbols we've got. We've got this types of line that go through here. We've got pH, we've got 2 of those. We've got this object here, this blue line here, this red thick line here, the yellow line that comes through here. We've got this symbol and this symbol, this one, this dotted red line here, and any grey areas, the brown areas like that. Now, some of them you might be able to guess, some of them you might have to look up. And so this one you might be able to guess, whereas others might have to look at. So let's have a look. We've got minor roads, and all these yellow roads will be minor roads. We've got buildings, which are all these browned out areas. We've got a telephone, which is where a telephone is. We've got a footpath, which are these red dotted lines. We've got places of worship, and this place of worship has no tower, dome, minaret, or spire, whereas this church or place of worship has a tower. Then we've got a main road. They can be pink, they can be red. We've got what's called a public house. This is a pub, basically. In public house, you get rid of the lit pub. See? Then you've got a pond or larger lake. We've got a river, which is the blue line, and then we've got what's called contour lines. And these contour lines show us that there is a slope here. The closer they are together, the steeper the slope, the further away they are, the wider the slope. Remember, normally you're going downhill towards the stream and uphill the other side, just to give you an idea of where those slopes might be coming. So this is actually an OS map. The other one was a rough idea. So on a map of a town or a city, things can be a lot busier and harder to understand. There is a lot going on here. So many different things happening all at the same time, all along lots of places, additional bits added in. So you have to look quite closely if you're looking at this sort of thing. And you have to think that there is one square. Pretty impressive. That is a big square. Look how much is going on in here. And that's why your 6-figure grid reference can be really, really useful. So can you spot 2 public phones? There they are. Can you spot 2 museums, which are like a little house with an M inside? Yep, there they are. Can you see where the tourist information center is? Give you an eye. It's an eye. There it is. Where could I post a letter? Well, here it is. PO means post office. Then we've got how many schools can you find? I'll give you a hint. SCH or school. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any more? So this is a quick reminder of your symbols before you attempt your task. So have a look at these. You can always pop back to these if you need to at a later point. Here's your task. I want you to think about what symbol you can find in the grid reference 7134. I want you to use a 6-figure grid reference to have a look at the symbol that is at 69.2 and 33.7. When you think about what symbol can be found at 68.1 and 31.8, I want you to see if you can do your own 6-figure grid reference for the bus or coach station. And give a 6-figure grid reference for the battlefield. I'm not going to give that one away. It's a tricky one. See if you can find it. And that's all for today. Good luck in finding those. Try your best. 6-figure grid references are hard to get your head around, but easy once you know it. Just remember, 4-figure grid reference, then split that box into 10 pieces and then use each one as you go along. Good luck. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.